What's going on YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my Godzilla comic book reviews. And in this video, we're going to talk about Godzilla Rivals, Mechagodzilla versus King Ghidorah, with Godzilla also thrown into the mix. This comic book is written by Tom Waltz, who I think was a writer on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think the Last Ronin series he worked on, which is a very popular Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book. I haven't read it myself, but I hear nothing but great things about that. And then the pencils are done by Casey Maloney, inks by Maria Keene, colors by Rhonda Pattison, letters by Tom Napolitano. I promise I'm butchering these names. Tom Napolitano? Okay. And then editor James S. Richardson. Nathan Whittick, of course, is the design and production by. So this is a story of, Godzilla's thrown in the mix as well. It's called Mechagodzilla versus King Ghidorah, but it's really just kind of a three-way battle. That's the tricky part sometimes about labeling these rivals comic books. It's like sometimes there's extra monsters thrown into the mix who actually feel like they have more of a focus on the plot. But this one's actually a pretty interesting storyline. It kind of tells the fall of the Atlantean civilizations and how it kind of came crashing down. So the lost civilization of Atlantis used to be this big advanced civilization back in the day, but then it came crashing down as a result of Mechagodzilla, King Ghidorah, and of course Godzilla. So it is a really interesting story right here. It's set in the past or the future, however you want to. Well, actually, it would be in the past because this is the fall of Atlantis. It used to be like a peaceful place, but then people got greedy, the civilization fell, and it kind of was up to like the survivors to kind of lead a new generation kind of afterwards. So yeah, Mechagodzilla is basically built in honor, I say that in quotation marks, of Godzilla as a tribute, because like some people don't even believe that he exists. King Ghidorah, who fell from the sky, has also been kind of imprisoned in this place. There's some sort of bombing that goes on there, and like a suicide bomber comes in there and kind of destroys things, and they're initiating war. And then these crazy people kind of running the civilization are like, all right, it's time to sacrifice and lay our vengeance upon our rivals by bringing out like Mechagodzilla and King Ghidorah. And we have this elder there who also has kind of some magic powers. So there's a lot kind of going on in there. I think it's best you just kind of read it on yourself. But then of course Ghidorah is awakened, and we get this battle between like the different parties. We have kids who are about to be sacrificed, but then this old man with a magic stick comes in and is able to kind of save their lives. Not really sure about like where the powers of like all this stuff comes from, but again, it's kind of like a fantasy like book and like science fiction. You can kind of just roll with it. And then of course Ghidorah is broken free from his like prison that he's been kind of kept in, and then Mechagodzilla is in there starting a battle, and then of course Godzilla is awoken once he senses Ghidorah and all that, and then we get a big three-way battle. And it's some pretty cool looking artwork right here. The character designs, we get the Showa classic Mechagodzilla, which is the simian based design. Arguably my favorite Mechagodzilla design. It's always a toss up between this one and the Kiryu one. Ghidorah looks more Showa-esque, and Godzilla of course looks very reminiscent of his time in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Arguably one of my favorite Godzilla movies for sure. I mean, I love the Showa Mechagodzilla movies quite a bit, especially those designs. I don't know, it's tough for me to decide. My favorites of the Showa era are usually just Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla and Mothra vs. Godzilla are kind of near the tippy top. But of course, I mean, I have a soft spot for other ones as well. I love the Showa era in general, like my favorite era of Godzilla movies, arguably. And then, of course, like I said, some good-looking artwork. We get some battles, like Mechagodzilla is kind of taken down, and then Godzilla kind of lays his vengeance upon the civilization as some kids are kind of let go. And then, of course, we get a tribute to somebody who passed away. So R.I.P. Joel Benjamin Benny Rodriguez. Not really familiar with who that is, but again, like any comic that's in tribute to someone, you got to pay your respects. So yeah, this is a pretty interesting storyline. There's a lot of like the politics of Atlantis that are kind of like touched upon. Again, with a lot of these rival storylines, there's just so much like thrown into kind of one issue. You almost wish you had more than one issue to kind of tell the story. I mean, I look to Godzilla Here There Be Dragons and how that's given so much real estate space to kind of tell a story. But like this one, like it's grand epic, and it's like an interesting take on the whole like Godzilla mythology and all that. And that's one of the things I love about the Rival series is we're getting all these different like unique stories with the IP. And I didn't expect to, when I was looking at this one, I'm like, okay, it looks like I see the pyramids there, some Mechagodzilla's there. Like I never read the descriptions before I go into reading the issues first, because I like to be surprised. But I didn't expect to see Mechagodzilla built by Atlanteans to fight King Ghidorah with Godzilla showing up. Like, again, it's not something I really expected, and that's kind of the fun for me when I'm reading these types of storylines. So you do get some pretty good action in there, And there's some interesting, like, tweaking kind of with the mythos of this, like this storyline with Godzilla and that, like, kind of centered around Atlantis. It kind of reminds me, I think, was it the 1994 American Godzilla draft where they talked about, I think, Godzilla maybe created by Atlanteans or something like that? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but I think that was one of the scripts where it had something to do with, like, Atlantis and all that, with the griffin and all that. I might be wrong. I very much could be, but I think I remember something along the lines of, like, a script kind of dealing with Atlantis and that, and it tied into Godzilla and whatnot. So, but yeah, seeing that explored, I just was kind of reminded of that. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I feel like it is. So if anyone knows, correct me in the comment section. But yeah, like I said, the artwork here is pretty good. Like I said, we get the cool, like, Showa era designs right here. I mean, if you're gonna have Mechagodzilla in here, you got to have this design or the Kiryu one. I still like the 90s design. You know, I still enjoy the MonsterVerse and Ready Player One designs and all that. But my two favorites, of course, are Showa and Millennium Mechagodzilla. I mean, you just can't go wrong with those two designs. I feel like the Kiryu design might even be better in some ways because it's kind of a nice combination of the Showa and Heisei's, but like that classic Mechagodzilla design, I see that thing and I'm just like, that's such a badass look. But again, Kiryu is kind of a perfect upgrade to that, with taking the past and really just kind of like mixing the two things together. So it might be my favorite design too. I don't know. It's tough for me to choose because I like the Showa era movies the most, but I might even like the Kiryu design even more. So, but yeah, it was still cool to see that design right here. And of course, seeing Godzilla drawn similar to his appearance in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 74 was cool. And then having Ghidorah there as some, like, a prison thing. Again, there's some interesting stuff here. Almost wish you could have gotten maybe a few issues to kind of explore Atlantis. I mean, you have this old guy with, like, his magic staff, and you have these two kids as well, and you have Godzilla in the mix and all that. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. I just kind of wish we had a little bit more real estate to tell this particular story, because again, it's about a lost civilization of Atlantis, and you're only given a certain amount of real estate to kind of get into the mix with only like one issue to tell this story. And I think for the most part they did it pretty well. And if you're looking for some good kaiju action, you do get that mixed in here, and an interesting storyline with the whole Atlantis angle. So I'm liking a lot of these Godzilla storylines in recent memory, kind of going to the past. Like Here There Be Dragons is doing an interesting thing with it, with the whole Sons of Giants angle and the monsters throughout history. Now we're having stuff in like ancient Atlantis times, and I'm liking this stuff in the past. So yeah, definitely worth a read if you get the chance to. Not my favorite of the Rivals series, but still a pretty good one overall, with some good looking artwork and some cool kaiju battles. So yep, that's all I really have to say about this particular issue. What did you think of it? Post your comments down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, hit that bell for notifications, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.